What's up everybody, Todd here. Today we're going to install the Carven Cat-Back Exhaust Kit on this 2022 Toyota Tundra. For this installation, I'll be using a ratchet with an extension, a 14 and 15 millimeter socket, exhaust pliers, an electric impact driver, and a torque wrench with a 15 millimeter socket. Now make sure you're subscribed to our channel to stay up to date with our latest content. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, we're going to start over here on the driver's side, just past the catalytic converter. Heading back, we're going to run into a flange. And this flange is held together. We've got a couple of bolts with springs. We're going to remove those bolts and springs with a 14 millimeter. Then we're going to do the same on the catalytic converter on the passenger side. Now, as we follow the factory exhaust to the rear of the muffler, we're going to come to another flange. What we're going to do is remove the nuts off the back side of that flange using a 14 millimeter. Okay, now back to the front side of the muffler. What I've gone ahead and done is I've got a support up underneath the muffler to hold the weight of it whenever it comes down. Right up here, we've got a couple of exhaust hangers that I've already hit a little bit of penetrating oil down into it to get them nice and loose to where they can come off. You can use a pry bar. I'm going to use an exhaust hanger plier, and I'm going to pop both sides off. All of the weight of the front of the muffler is going to be resting on this support. Okay, going back to the rear of the muffler assembly, we're going to find another exhaust hanger. Again, I've already treated this with some penetrating oil so it can slide back and forth. I'm going to go ahead and pull this one free. Okay, now the front support that I had holding the weight of the muffler assembly, I went ahead and moved that. Now the front pipes on the muffler assembly are actually hanging on top of the cross member between the frame rails. Now I went ahead and moved that right back here to the back side of the muffler right in front of the rear flange. Next, what I can do, since the muffler assembly is completely supported, I need to go ahead and remove the tailpipe portion. What I'm going to do here is remove the isolator from the exhaust hanger here, and there's one more isolator. Once we remove those two isolators, the whole tailpipe can come out and away from the vehicle. Okay, now we've got the tailpipe assembly out of the way, we can go ahead and lift up the muffler off of our rear support, pull that out of the way, and then we can go ahead and pull the entire muffler assembly out from the vehicle. Okay, next we're going to go ahead and turn our attention to our white pipe and our two flange pipes. Now, to get this all to line up nice and easy, the best way to do that is down on the ground. So what we're going to do is take our white pipe. If you notice, you've got two parts coming off the white pipe up at the top of the Y. The side that has a weld is going to go to the driver's side. What we're going to do is go ahead and take one of our 2.5 inch clamps. Now these band clamps, you've got two different sizes. You got the 2.5 inch, and you've got the 3 inch. So the two that are smaller go onto the white pipe up at the top of the Y. Those are the 2.5 inch. Go ahead and slide those in place. Keep in mind what direction the nuts are going to be coming off of because we're going to have to tighten these up later. So go ahead and slide both of the band clamps onto the Y. Then we're going to take our straight pipe with a flange on it, slide that into the driver's side part of the Y, and the passenger side part of the Y gets the other flange pipe. Go ahead and slide that in. Once they're in place, we can go ahead and take it and put it up to the truck. Now, once we've got that here, we're going to go ahead and reuse the factory spring bolts and attach the clamps loosely for right now. Okay, I'm going to actually start on the passenger side. It doesn't really matter which side you start on. Just make sure when you put these in, don't put them in all the way just yet. Just get them in nice and loose first. Okay, now when you get to the next bolt, the spring bolt, you want to make sure are a couple of things. Number one, you want to make sure you're going in at the correct angle. So if you look at this flange coming off the catalytic converter is actually pitched up. So you want to make sure that your assembly is also pitched up to kind of match that angle. What we're going to do here, because we've only got so much space between the two flanges, is we're going to try to push this in to compress the spring a little bit as we turn it into the factory nut. So the way that we're going to do that is use an electric impact driver. I'm going to hold it in place, make sure it's lined up well. Then I'm going to kind of pull it through and then turn it to catch the threads. Let's move over to the driver's side. Okay, now we're on the driver's side with the driver's side catalytic converter. Now, because we've got both the tubes already into the Y pipe, the flange tubes are going to have a little bit of a bind on them, or a little bit of a flex on them, where we need to push them up and then draw them over into place. Now, I like to do the inside one first because that's going to line up the easiest. So I've got my 14 millimeter in extension attached to the spring bolt. I'm going to line that up and get that bolt started. Again, it's very important to make sure you're very straight and square on this. We don't want to strip out the factory threads on these bolts. Now I'm going to turn that with a ratchet a little bit just to get that bolt thoroughly into the threads. Okay, now for the next hole, we're also going to use an electric impact driver along with the factory hardware. Again, I can't stress this enough, make sure everything is nice and square so you don't strip out the bolts. All right, now we're going to go ahead and line up our carbon muffler assembly up to the end of our white pipe. I've already got our band clamp slid over top. This is one of our 3-inch band clamps. All we have left now is 3-inch band clamps. So as we line up our carbon pipe to the Y pipe, we're also going to line up our exhaust hangers to the isolators up top. And as we slide them in place, we'll get them lined up. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and hook up our rear exhaust hanger to our isolator. Once we've got that in place, we can wiggle our muffler assembly forward to fully engage the Y pipe. Okay, now at the flared end of the muffler pipe assembly, we're going to go ahead and take one of our band clamps. This is one of our other 3-inch band clamps, and slide it in place. Next, we're going to take our axle pipe assembly. Now the axle pipe, you're going to have a hanger coming off of the end, just a few inches off the end of that pipe. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the sharp bend part, go over top of the axle. That's why they call it the axle pipe. Then we're going to line up our exhaust hanger to our isolator, slide it in place. And then we're going to line that up to the muffler pipe and then slide it in place that way. Okay, now at the end of the axle pipe, we're going to go ahead and take our last 3-inch band clamp and slide that in place. You may need to rotate your axle pipe in order to line up to our tailpipe. Next, what we're going to do is take our tailpipe, the flared end goes to our axle pipe. Go ahead and line it up first to our exhaust hanger. Slide that into place. Once that's in place, we can go ahead and line that up to our axle pipe and slide that into the flange portion of our tailpipe. All right, now we're going to go ahead and tighten down our factory hardware using the 14 millimeter. Just make sure you don't over tighten these. All right, now that we got the passenger side done, we're going to do the same on the driver's side. Okay, now working from the front to the back, we're going to go to each one of our band clamps, make sure the tube is fully engaged. Then we're going to tighten down that band clamp. First, I'm going to use a 15 millimeter on an impact driver, an electric impact, to get them set in place. After I've done everything, put everything in place, we're going to go back and tighten everything down with a torque wrench, torquing everything down to 65 foot-pounds. Okay, now before you tighten up your tailpipe tube, go ahead and set your exhaust tip in place and make sure it's lined up to a good spot on the back of the vehicle. and make any kind of adjustments necessary. Then go ahead and slide that back off and tighten down your tailpipe. Okay, now go ahead and slide on your exhaust tip. Once you get it all nice and lined up, go ahead and tighten that down, also with a 15 millimeter. Well, that concludes the installation. If you found this video helpful, make sure and give us a thumbs up. If you want to know more about the product, check the link in the description below. And as always, if you have any questions, call the experts or visit us online at RealTruck.com.